Welcome to another edition of the Old North State Sports Show, folks. Hope you guys are doing well. Days away from legal tampering, and we have a lot of teams who are active, cutting players, making trades. Meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers seem to be sitting idle, not doing any restructuring, not cutting guys. But hey, maybe here in the next few days, we'll start to see some momentum. Speaking of momentum, a lot of things to talk about today. But first of all, it does sound like the Carolina Panthers are going to be active in free agency. They're not going to be able to spend top dollar at every position of need, but they should be able to address a lot of things. Reported by Jeremy Fowler of ESPN.com, he says, expect Carolina to rebuild its defense because it badly needs depth. That's the thing. You really need a lot of depth pieces. Targeting a top safety will be on the docket. And the Panthers also plan to fortify their defensive front, things that I've talked about that we know they need to address. Even if they don't go top of the market in each of these position groups, they will replenish the depth chart just about everywhere. Also, look for them to bring in a speedy wide receiver. Carolina has roughly $31 million in cap space as of right now. So there you have it, folks. It's a beginning, and it seems that really the Panthers are building for next year, at least from a roster standpoint. Again, that's not saying that they're not going to be aggressive. It's not saying that they're not going to try to win. It's not saying that they're not going to address needs through the draft. But this is building up for next offseason. That's part of the reason you just eat the money that you have. If you choose to do so with Taylor Moton, you would still expect Miles Sanders or Shai Tuttle to get a restructure or cut because that saves you a few more $1 million there, and you can do a post June 1st designation. Hey, save yourself some money. Bring some money in to make a few more additions. Now, speaking of additions, let's get into the news from today. And another day and another edge is available on the market. This time, Trey Hendrickson. Man, wouldn't this be a nice addition for the Carolina Panthers? 17 and a half sacks, was up for Defensive Player of the Year, didn't win it, could have got it. Dude is a wrecking machine. We saw it firsthand when the Carolina Panthers and Cincinnati Bengals played each other this year. I would be a fan of bringing in Trey. I'm a fan of bringing in a lot of these guys. It's a matter when you're talking about a trade scenario, what do you have to give up? And or on the end of incoming player, what type of contract do they want? They're going to probably want an extension. We're going to talk about that in just a second with DK Metcalf, but that seems to be the case. With that said, if there is a way to figure out how to get him in here, absolutely. There's no doubt this team could benefit from a player like that. Being able to wreck. And speaking of it, being able to wreck the quarterback, but like, what are the Cincinnati Bengals doing? I need to ask Randy Slack, my man from ESPN Wilmington, some questions because he's a Bengals fan. He gets to always ask me the questions about the Carolina Panthers. Speaking of which, got to go on the ESPN Wilmington today, dusted off the cobwebs. Things are still going well. It's been scheduling conflicts. It was fun, man. Always enjoy going on there. If you're in the Wilmington market, 101.7, tune into ESPN Radio. I usually do good about posting it when I'm going to be on there. It was a fun conversation, but you can also listen on your smart devices, all that fun stuff. Now, Trey Hendrickson, we will see. I don't know that the Panthers are really going to be suitors. Probably the Commanders, probably a team with more money, not us. DK Metcalf. So there's this conversation floating around now. Can the Carolina Panthers get him? Well, we've got the asking price or the reported asking price as of now, which is a first rounder and a third rounder. That's a steep price, and that's what many folks, not just me, those that are reporting on this have said this is too much. So I know there's a few suitors in the mix, but that is a lot of draft capital to get up. And he's also asking for $30 million a year. And if we're being honest, when you look at the Panthers right now with their cap space, understanding that there is flexibility in how you space out that hit. You could do 10 or 15 this year, go out, extend it from there. push it down the road. Cap hopefully is going to continue to increase, but I don't know, man. Panthers could greatly benefit from it, but I don't know that they could benefit it from giving up what they'd have to give up to get him, plus paying him the $30 million. But again, hey, DK Metcalf would be a game changer, in my opinion, for the Carolina Panthers offense. I would see him as a big upgrade and as the number one wide receiver on this team. So we'll continue to monitor. It feels like the Panthers are going to be shopping at the Dollar General. No knock on Dollar General, but that seems to be where they're going to get their wide receivers this year, unless we just get shocked. We'll find out. Now, an area that we talked about a lot, the center position, Cade Mays, free agent. We have the rights to him. Austin Corbett, injuries, also unrestricted free agent. Sounds like they pushed, as we've reported and talked about, the window to renegotiate. They pushed that right up against the deadline. What are the Panthers going to do here? It seems they're going to run it back, and I think personally that's fine by me. I think the offensive line, when healthy, and for the most part it was, outside of an injury, partly to Taylor Moton during the year and then Austin Corbett. But in general, a relatively healthy offensive line that played much better, built on the interior. You go with this route, you do have to understand, though, there is potential for Austin Corbett to get hurt. So I'd love to have Cade Mays back. And I don't know, man. I've kind of pushed off this idea that the Panthers are going to touch anything related to the offensive line in the draft. I think there's a possibility they eventually look at tackle. I don't know that I would look at a guard right this minute, but you honestly never know. And the last thing we'll talk about today is Christian Kirk getting traded from Jacksonville to Houston. When this went down, I saw a lot of people frustrated and upset because it was like in exchange for a seventh round pick. People get so worked up for absolutely no reason at all, in my humble and honest opinion. This guy has played about 20 games over the past 2 seasons. If you do the math, that's about 58% of the games. Injured quite a bit. I think it was 12 games and 8. Injured quite a bit, folks. And we've seen it. We've had our choice of kind of the not to knock again, but the Dollar General style receiver. I understand people are frustrated because the Panthers just haven't done anything. And you look at what the Houston Texans continue to do, trying to surround CJ Stroud with weapons. And so I get the frustration. At the same time, they're dealing with their own stuff with Diggs. Who knows what's happening there with Tank Dell? Lots of question marks around just the whole core of receivers. And I know the Panthers, Dan Morgan feels good about what he has here. I don't know that I feel as good as he does, but he does feel good. So I don't know. It's going to be a topic of discussion the entire offseason until we see it come through. So, anyways, I'm not worried about Christian Kirk getting traded for a seventh. Sure, it would have been nice, but I'm not saying like this is the end of the world. Also, he carried a $15.5 million salary cap hit. So, again, we can keep talking about how much money the Panthers have. You really want to spend $15.5 million, half of what you have allotted to spend on everything you need on a so-so wide receiver who's played a little over half of the games the last 2 years. I'm not sold on it. Just my personal opinion. Well, folks, that's going to do it for today's episode. We will be back with more content maybe tomorrow, maybe not. I'm going to be doing a lot of combine breakdowns over the next week, and free agency, of course, around the corner. But as always, folks, this is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.